Good evening, citizens of Portsmouth and my colleagues on council. Welcome to our public work session today, June 27th. I would now ask that my colleagues on council please note your presence electronically.
6 members of City Council are present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam City Manager, ma'am, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, City of Portsmouth, family. Today we're going to do a public safety work session. What we are doing is bringing everyone up to date on where we are in our status of the things that we've been bringing to council in the past. So we're going to kick off our work session today with E911 technical system update, and that will be presented by our Chief Information Officer, Mr. Cliff Hayes.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, Madam Interim Manager, members of council. You have before you the first item for our public safety presentation is our E911 technical system updates that we have for the city. As we reflect back, you'll recall that this project has a history dating going back to 2018, and even probably in some conversations before that. There were concerns regarding the timelines of the calls that were being handled in our E911 center, the call handling, the technology, even the education of the citizens on the process for reporting incidents to our 911 center as well. The call center software needed to be upgraded, and of course the physical infrastructure needed to be upgraded as well. That included our call routing, our servers, the PCs, the types of lines that we actually had coming into the 911 center that were analog in nature, and we needed to upgrade all of that to a more digital platform which would handle more capacity at higher speeds, et cetera. Also, as a special note, the council actually approved funding to handle this project going back to December. The whole idea of this upgrade is to increase the data or information that would be coming into our 911 operators, as well as for our citizens to be able to provide that information that was needed to deal with those emergency center situations. It was to decrease the amount of stress on our 911 operators, as well as the citizens and the responders that would be showing up on the scene. With that implementation of new technology, it came in the form of 3 major components. It was our Vesta 911 system, which was the call handling component of that, our EZINet, or our emergency systems internet protocol network, infrastructure improvements, and then of course there was the NICE recording, which was a product Motorola has put together. I'll start with the Vesta, or the call handling component of those 3 components that we needed to upgrade. And of course, with Vesta, we consider this to be the critical path for this project to come to fruition and the implementation, because the other components literally will be riding on the call handling aspect of the software that we have for our employees in the 911 center. As you recall, back in April, we reported to you through our vendors that the implementation of the full project may take anywhere from 4 to 9 months. That 9 months being pushing us to ribbon cutting and completion of this project in January of 2024. I'm happy to report to you that we have sharpened our pencils and continue to communicate and work with our vendors with Vesta and Motorola, Ezinet, AT&T as well. And originally, we were told that the shipment of the equipment that would be necessary to handle this after they configure it off-site would be somewhere around the August timeframe. We have worked with them to a point where we were actually able to bring that date back into the month of July. July 15th is what we were told. We continued to sharpen our pencils, and we were able to actually bring in another date, which was July the 5th. We continued to work with them, and the result of all of that is that the equipment was able to be shipped June the 15th. So we shaved a whole month off of just that critical component, a whole month, which has actually brought the whole timeline for the whole project to come in more sooner than we had originally projected. And I'll get to that at the very end. The equipment shipped June the 15th, as I mentioned. We received it on June the 21st, and now are in the process now of installing resources and are expected for Vesta's configuration and installation to be completed around July the 20th. With that, we'll continue with more configuration and testing of the system to get it right for our environment here in the city of Portsmouth. And we're projected to literally begin training the personnel in August the 18th to be exact. So we are way ahead of schedule and looking very good with regards to the Vesta piece. What this will do is allow us to migrate our current call station system to Vesta 911, and that will put us, after the training, able to go live with that component in September. This will also allow for call queuing. So when calls come in from the public, they literally will go into a automated queue and automatically return any calls. If someone were to hang up the phone and try to come back in later, they'll receive a call back automatically from the system. This also is next generation 911 compatible, which simply means that we are moving in an environment today to handle the technologies that we have today. Some, as you know, 97% of Americans have some type of cellular device that they use on a daily basis. And with that comes a need for us to shift away from the traditional infrastructure and software, et cetera, and technologies of our 911 centers to move away from how they were designed to be handled from calls coming in from landlines to cellular communication. The next component is the Ezinet, or the Emergency Services Internet Protocol Network, the next Gen 911. That includes upgrading our actual physical infrastructure to fiber coming into our 911 center. Historically, or prior to now, there was one communication line coming into our 911 center, and of course, we know the risk involved with only one means of communication coming in. With this project, what we've been able to do is create redundancy, and so we have fiber coming in to multiple access points into the 911 center, because we know the risk involved with other utilities, et cetera, working in and around all downtown. So that will give us a much more stability, stable environment, more resiliency, and sustainability. You also would be interested in knowing that we've reached out to the Virginia Department of Emergency Medical Management Services, VDEM, for reimbursement for the city's investment with this project, and have been approved for the $250,000 that you have, so you can invest it, that you can anticipate a reimbursement coming back to the city for this investment that you've made. And then, of course, with the compatibility of the next-gen 911 technology, it just simply means that we will be able to not only handle calls coming into the center, but text messages and other medium included with those text messages. So you'll be able to handle things like pictures or video, or even in many instances, live feeds of video from the public into the 911 operator and to those responders that'll be showing up on the scene. That type of information can be very helpful as the officers or the responders are coming on the scene. They know exactly what it is they will be coming into as a situation. And then, of course, it improves the interoperability amongst the cities. Here, we will be able to communicate CAD to CAD, computer-aided dispatch to computer-aided dispatch of other 911 centers. It also will give us a better opportunity to more accurately pinpoint a cellular call for routing purposes. And then finally, that third component is the NICE recording, which is also a Motorola product. The offsite configuration of that system is happening as we speak. That's ongoing now. It's being coordinated with that first piece that I mentioned, the Motorola Vesta call handling piece, and the recording of that will also go live during the same time that Motorola comes on board with their Vesta piece. The central archiving of that, of our servers, it will hold the metadata and actual recording info in under one application, one server, one stored area. It also makes recorded calls retrievable, whether we are online with our servers or not. And then finally, of course, something that we're very much interested in is as we move to a new platform, et cetera, the question has come up, well, what will happen to all of those recordings that we've already had with our existing system? All of that will be ported over and able to be retrieved through our new implementation that we have. And with that, Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, Madam Interim Manager, members of council, that completes the report of the 911 update of our technical systems of the 911 center. And I'll entertain any questions if you have some at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. Vice Mayor Lucas Burke, ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Hayes, for the presentation. We mentioned the training that's going to occur. Is our current staff load adequate for managing this new system, or will we need to do some fill-in positions to make it accurate with, going live and getting up to par with using it on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, well, the vendor is prepared to provide the training for all staff members that we have available, and I'll yield to our chiefs to answer the questions regarding staff and personnel assignments and that type of thing. Chief Manubat.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Council. Yes, so the staffing that we have, they're going to prepare for August to test on a new system and also learn the system. What we've done recently is we've strategized the staffing with support from off-duty dispatchers. So what we've done, we've scheduled windows of opportunity when we know the call volume is very high, say from 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We've been able to have dispatchers come in for either a 4-hour window, a 5-hour window, and kind of leaving it up to the dispatchers to be able to flex their schedules along with the routine 12-hour schedules that they run.
Great. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Hugel, sir, you have the floor.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. So Chief, don't sit down because I got a question for Mr. Hayes, but then most of my questions are aimed at you. So, SENet we're in the process now of installing equipment. When will SENet be up and running? Is it up and running now?
That's the infrastructure piece of it.
Yeah.
And the equipment that we have, we're installing to attach to those physical communication lines that I told you about. The fiber itself has been lit up, it's turned on, it's been tested. Everything is good to go with that, but we're in the process of installing that physical equipment as we speak.
And so that somehow helps Vesta do more?
Yeah, it all has to work in concert. The Vesta is the actual call handling piece. And so what the EZNet implementation will do is it's the robustness of allowing more bandwidth, more information to come in at much higher or faster speeds, handling all types of media, including live feeds. And the Vesta piece is the call handling that can actually do what it is that needs to be done, if that answers your
Okay, yeah, so
question.
that's actually a good segue into the question I have for the chief. So, I mean, we have however many dispatchers on duty at any one time that we have. That's kind of how many people we have to answer calls, yes? So we have this call volume thing that's partly driven by people calling for non-emergency things to 911 that kind of overwhelms the staff that's in the dispatch center. It's not clear to me how the tech, I get it that we now we have more capability to send more stuff into the dispatcher center, but if we have 10 dispatchers on duty or however many we have, then we can basically handle 10 phone calls at a time, right? And that doesn't really change with the E911, true?
Yeah, excuse me. Yes, sir, Councilman Hugel. So looking at how, I'm kind of pull these pieces apart. So the current system with the current staffing, we staff 6 dispatchers, and we have support from fire and police officers who are on light duty status. So we have 2 to 3 of the light duty staff operating and taking non-emergency calls. And then we have our 6 dispatchers during the day and 5 at night that support the 911 call system. So with that, we have 1 dispatcher assigned to the police radio, and they don't accept phone calls, they just monitor the radio for safety issues. We do the same with the dispatcher for fire and EMS. So that leaves your other dispatchers to answer phones, run EMD, emergency medical dispatch, when callers come in. Under the current system, as phone calls flood into the 911 center, as you know, it just gets so inundated, those lines get full, and we get that eternal ring where citizens don't feel like there's anyone there answering your phone calls. But what happens during that eternal ring is those same people are hanging up, dialing again, and getting back into that call queue. So with Vesta, that system is robust to where it can handle more calls coming in at the same time, but also has an automated feature to where the calls that come in will be answered by the Vesta system automation if there is no dispatcher available. So we would take away that ring portion, and then from there, the citizen will be prompted on the type of incident that they're calling for, whether it's emergency or non-emergency, and that will be processed in the Vesta system, placed on the console of the dispatcher so they can see what calls are there holding ready for the next dispatcher to pick up. So with that workload should be distributed much better with Vesta, versus the current system, solely because of the analog and the ambiguity of those calls coming through.
So if I'm calling and I happen to be the seventh caller and we got 6 people in there, the difference is instead of getting a ring, 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 I'm going to get the system answering and telling me, sit tight, we're waiting for somebody to come free. Is that basically the difference?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How does, so I appreciate the opportunity to feed video and pictures and stuff, and I know at our retreat, the chief talked about text-to-tip and the opportunity for citizens to feed that information into the system. How does Vesta then communicate, and this is maybe for the chief, I'm not sure, but how does Vesta communicate to the real-time crime center all of that information, and does that tie up a dispatcher to feed video and pictures and stuff? So we're taking advantage of the technology,
Yes.
but we're getting ready to overwhelm ourselves with more information is, I guess, what I'm scratching my head about.
So, if you don't mind, what I want to do is, I know we have a lot of questions, but I believe some of your questions will be answered when we do the entire public safety portion. We anticipated that there would be questions, of course, but I think the bigger, once we have an opportunity to hear from everybody, we'll come back and see if your question was then answered.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir and ma'am. Councilman Moody, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. My question's for the chief. Did I hear you correctly, Chief, saying that we had 6 day dispatchers and 5 night dispatchers?
Yes, sir. That's what's scheduled as a minimum staffing.
So I would think that the workload is more critical at night versus day. Is that not true? Is the volume heavier at night than day?
The volume's heavier at day from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. is where your call volume is a lot less. I'm sorry.
Now, when you say volume, is that non-emergency? I'm speaking of
Right.
emergency.
Right, yeah, it's calls coming into the center. So if during the day, there's more people out and about and those cell phones are out. So a car accident during the day will probably generate more calls than at night just because of the sheer volume of someone present to witness. So those calls are continue to come in. And I don't have the data to say which ones are non-emergency versus emergency. I am told by the 911 administrator that their call volume is higher during the day shift than the night shift.
It would be good at some point in time to know how that's divided, because I would think a 911 call at midnight or 1 a.m. saying nothing good happens after midnight. It'd be good to get that information. I would think the staff would have to be prepared to do a quicker response at night than even day.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Also, Chief, I believe we did, and Councilman Moody, I think we had numbers during the empowerment session. And so when you say you don't have the numbers, you just mean you don't have it in front of you right now based on the question that was asked.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes, the 911 administrator keeps all that data. I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mr. Hayes. And also, Madam City Manager, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Next, we'll have our hurricane season preparedness provided by Mr. Stephen Davis, who is the Deputy Emergency Management Coordinator.
Evening, Mr. Davis.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Honorable Vice Mayor, City Council, attendees, citizens of Portsmouth. I'm going to present tonight the presentation for the hurricane season that's upon us right now, starting June 1st. That's going to extend it to November 30th. In the overview, I'll provide the hurricane season forecast, which is now at 21 named storms, the historical perspective, the increased capabilities, the evacuation strategy for the city, enhanced community sheltering. On the PowerPoint presentation there on this slide, we have the 21 named storms for our area in the Atlantic side of the United States. As you know now, we've already endured 3 of them. Cindy was our last. Dawn is the next storm that is named for our area or throughout the United States. This rendition is the hurricane timing guide. If you look at it, almost parallels what the United States Coast Guard does as the storm is out. They prepare other evacuations or preparing citizens for the storms that may be in our area impacting wise. 5 days out at 120 hours, we established a unified command. We'll initiate the unified command meetings, start standing up the EOC, getting chief and the operations part of the fire department, Chief Jennings, getting ready for areas that'll be hot spots throughout the city. We'll establish our objectives in those meetings. 3 days out, 72 hours, the command and general staff meeting will convene, and a tactics meeting as far as high water vehicles or getting staff ready, scheduler-wise, to get those things ready for the city. You notice those 2 lines below the 2 days out. We'll be monitoring what other stakeholders in the area, that's VDEM, Virginia State Police, also with other agencies, regional, Virginia Beach, Suffolk, seeing what their emergency management in their cities are doing also, trying to mirror that when we stand up Web EOC, because we'll be putting data in it, what we're doing in the city and prepare for any storms that may come our way. The next aspect, 1 day out, we'll be doing the operations brief. We'll be starting our operations in a 12 to 24-hour operation tempo. This portion of it, Simpson Hurricane, wind scale, we'll start in the middle. When we're in Hurricane 1, many of the storms we know start off. Unfortunately, as they sit in the Atlantic or in the Gulf of Mexico, they sit there, they generate those winds. They're coming in from the Yucatan once they go past the state of Florida, and they get into the Yucatan Peninsula and the Gulf. That warm water kind of generates it, but most of your storms, or all of your storms, are going to be wind generated. So that's what we're gauging. Your category 1s are 74 to 95 miles an hour. Your category 2 hurricanes are 96 to 110. Category 3, 111 miles an hour to 129 miles an hour. Category 4, 130 to 156. And category 5, greater than 157 miles per hour. This rendition of it is just Tropical Storm Marco that came in through the Gulf, and you can see through Florida. Again, it's these depends on what type of hurricane and storm system that you have. You may have one that's wind generated only, one that may bring wind and rain, and it's a substantial amount of flooding that comes in with all of those impacts of a storm. I won't read each one of them, but Hurricane Hannah from 220, Hurricane Irene 2011, and Hurricane Matthews in 2016. Increased emergency management readiness that we have. Just recently in the city of Suffolk, we stood up with the emergency managers, Virginia State Police, VDOT, and also the Virginia Department of Emergency Management for evacuation preparedness and also sheltering capabilities. So we had a chance to talk about as far as flow of traffic. VDOT was there talking about some of the repairs that they have in the Merrimack for the tunnel, and any type of repairs they have. Many times I've referenced individuals to see the pathway that's on the Virginia highways and byways. Go to VDOT's website, 511.org, and you can see the rendition of the live feed of the videos of what's going on in those roadways. Well, also the flood response program I mentioned before with the fire department, they're preparing operation-wise as we go into those 5 days, 3 days, 2 days, and 1 days. We start preparing that equipment throughout the city. So high water vehicles with swift water rescue capabilities, the rescue boat, PPEs, the equipment they have to wear, and the transport trailers for the boat itself. We'll implement crisis track software application. which that does for inspections and also permits, and myself and other members of the fire department will go out and take photograph of areas that's impacted by the storms, any downed trees, any homes that's impacted. The Office of Emergency Management utilizes real-time. We have this capability now with this grant process. We have a real-time, what we can do is we can tow this video monitoring system. And what it does, it gives real-time in the operations center. We log into that at a desktop, your phone, or your tablet. And what it does is give weather conditions that we can see real-time. So flooding conditions in Old Town or flooding conditions in the Craddock area, we can see that. We just have to put that apparatus there in a part of the city to see real-time. City Council and the Office of Emergency Management and Hurricane Preparedness, we utilize these bullet points. We utilize an effective communication flow during a significant event, which may impact the citizens and the issues they may have from the storm. Provide information pertinent to the event and situation assessment, response and recovery efforts. Also assure the resources are being utilized to help restore critical operations. We also would, if these community life signs are impacted, energy, communication, power, we can work with this, the interim city manager under her guidance and also with the fire chief and make sure that we're making a collaborative effort in collaboration with the declare an emergency for the city. A policy group, which the group you convene in, is during the event of a major emergency or natural disaster, the City Council and representative will provide policy director to the EOC. So whatever we're doing with the charter to make sure we'll be able to stand up certain equipment, essential service that may be impacted, for your guidance to be able to come with that direction through the EOC. An emergency or national director can impact residential, commercial, cultural properties and or essential services throughout the city of Portsmouth. With the city manager and city council policy group engagement, our emergency management goal is ensuring life safety, incident stabilization, property conservation, and restoring critical essential city services. This portion of the slide deck gives our evacuation zones. So we ask the citizens to know the zones they're in. The rendition of the blue is A, the green portion of the evacuation zone, the orange and the red, red in that area of Cavalier Manor going out towards Churchland area. Individuals to know that zone. We ask whatever social media they're using to be able to do that because we'll be pushing and utilizing that through communications and marketing, using those avenues for medium streams to push out to the citizens to prepare in these areas may need to be evacuated. Also, we have the rendition 264 in those areas of Portsmouth Boulevard. If we have to evacuate, one of the things we have to be mindful of, if we're evacuating, North Carolina may be also evacuating. If this is time of the season, Virginia Beach is evacuating, they're all going to be coming this direction. So we're hoping in stages and working with VDEM, VDOT, and also state police that we're able to get citizens out if they have the capability to do so, so we can gas our vehicles and make sure we get them on the road to the destination they made for safe harbor. The community emergency shelters that we have here in the city, we work with a sheltering working group, a collaborative group, school districts, excuse me, police, fire, EMS, public health, behavioral health, information technology, social services, American Red Cross, Parks and Rec. We work with these groups because we just want to make sure we have everything ready. Parks and Recs we work hand in hand with, so if they have down trees, they have down limbs and roadways, blocking walkways. We work with those groups. We identify that so they can call into the call center. We can identify those hot spots throughout the city, and we can provide the services with it. And it seemed like during Hurricane Ian last year, it worked pretty well for us to have those teams, have them prepared, and have them ready for deployment throughout the city. One of the good things we have also for the memorandum of understanding with the Mercy Chefs, we work pretty well with them to make sure we have enough food, and also for the clients that they have, that they serve every day in our community. We're not inundating them with more services. We provide that if they need water or any type of backfill and support needs they have there throughout the event of a storm. The City of Portsmouth Emergency Management demonstrates effective support services with sheltering needs, pre-event review of emergency sheltering capabilities, as we work with the Department of Social Services also, if we have to stand up a shelter. On this slide deck, we have the primary, IC Norcom is our primary location for sheltering needs. Secondary is Lakeview and Cavalier Manor area, and tertiary is the Churchland Primary and Intermediate School for our tertiary third level school. And at this time, if you would, any questions, please. Thank you.
Councilman Moody, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for the presentation, Mr. Davis.
Yes, sir.
It's obvious that hurricanes give us plenty of time to react and prepare, but we're hearing more and more about tornadoes in the region and even locally. Are the same groups, the same preparedness and shelters? How quickly would we get those going in the event of a tornado striking one of our communities?
Councilman Muniz, thank you, sir, for the question. One thing with a hurricane, it gives us enough time for preparedness. A tornado, as it happened in Virginia Beach, it limits us amount of that time. But we have personnel, we're ready. We know the storm, or we know that the indications come out faster than the National Weather Service to let us know what area it indicates on our phones and lets it come by radio so we can let citizens know. We would push that communication out through communications and marketing to make sure we let citizens know this shelter is stood up. We're ready to receive citizens at this location. So we make sure we're prepared for that if it does happen. A tornado happens relatively quickly compared to a hurricane, though.
Thanks.
You're welcome, Mr. Moody.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, we will have Fire Rescue and Emergency Services Department update by our own Chief Nestor Manuback.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Council, City Manager, thank you for having me up here again today. So I have a presentation to provide updates for fire rescue and emergency services. So we're going to go over 4 areas of updates, looking at fire EMS staffing, fire EMS facilities, fire EMS apparatus, and some department initiatives that are collaborations within the community. So with that, what I'd like to start off with is that none of these accomplishments within these topics are done just solely by our department. We receive support from our interim city manager, from our other departments, finance department, through human resources management, and city marketing, especially when it comes to recruitment and staffing. I did not want to leave them off of the recognition for all this. So with fire and EMS staffing, where we are today is we currently have 11 fire trainees that are set to graduate in September 14th of 2023. And if you recall, this has been a continuous effort by the department and the city to host the fire academies back-to-back. So we've been running back-to-back academies since the fall of 2020. Also, we have 16 trainees that begin on Thursday, June 29th, with the anticipated graduation of spring of 2024. We're also bringing on 3 certified firefighters on Thursday. We have tried a test with certified firefighters because it takes about 11 months to train a firefighter from beginning to end. So we're happy to report that in the portal, we have 25 applications from local area fire departments that are certified that want to come to join the Portsmouth family. We also continue to recruit for EMS paramedic. Currently, we have 6 positions. Well, currently we have 1 position to fill we'll have additional 5 with FY '24. Thanks to you and the city manager for staffing an additional medic unit in Craddock. So that'll create an additional 5 vacancies for EMS paramedic. And to add to the paramedic staffing or paramedic certified, we obtained a grant from FEMA where we are sending 6 firefighters to paramedic school, which is a 6-month training school where they should be completed with their paramedic training in December of this year. And sometime early in 2024, we anticipate them to be released to function within the city. So moving on to the fire EMS facilities and some of the improvements that have taken place in the past few months. Beginning in May, we strategized to replace some roofs on 3 fire stations. City manager, the budget team, and finance, and along with general services and the engineering department, we were able to have a quick turnaround and obtain a contract and have 3 of our fire stations having their roofs replaced all this month. So that's a big accomplishment for Team Portsmouth, and we continue to move forward. We've also completing a concrete apron replacement at Fire Station number 10 on Victory Boulevard. We've done some bunk room modifications and some locker rooms at Fire Station number 3 in Churchland. We have an interior renovation project for Fire Station 1, where it's a capital project. The bid was recently awarded, and the captains and lieutenants are working with the contractor, picking out tile color, paint colors, and so forth. So we look for that to begin this summer. We've also identified some HVAC repairs and replacements in most of our fire stations, so those are moving pretty well. And as a project for FY '24, we're looking at wanting to remove all of the carpet from the fire stations. A lot of it has to do with hygiene and cleanliness. We've experienced bed bugs in a few of our stations. A lot of it is attracted to fabric and carpeting. So we're looking at replacing all of those surfaces with a hard surface flooring. These are some pictures of some of our recent renovations. Fire Station number 4's roof was completed first. We have Station 1's roof that is currently ongoing. They happen to be roofing this in the middle of all of the rainstorms over the past 2 weeks. But hopefully we can have this one finished up this week. The Station 10 concrete replacement, and you can see the locker room renovation, Station 3. So, fire EMS apparatus. So as you recall, after the pandemic 2021, 2022, we ran into some issues with supply chain and availability of workforce and trucks breaking down. This was not a problem that Portsmouth has or had. It's a problem that was all across America. So what we've done is, along this list of equipment, you can see an asterisk next to some of the 2023 acquisitions. And this was done using and looking into the market for vendor availability. So we were able to find vehicles that were either mid-build or coming available to be able to purchase. So knowing that there is about a 2-year build time on anything you order, we've worked with city manager to strategize, identify units that we can use in our complement and be able to purchase these pretty much on the spot. So we're going to continue to do that, because if you could see down the list, everything was ordered, and you have a 2-year time limit. Some of these builds now are running into a 3-year time limit. So in order to prevent a 2021 or a 2022 post-pandemic shortage of equipment or broken down equipment, we're going to continue to look into the market and strategize on getting readily available units or finding ways to get units that are up quicker in the production line. Also, that last vehicle is the community response team vehicle. That happened to be on the lot in the city of Richmond, one of our vendors that we use, and we were able to secure that vehicle using behavioral health services opioid reimbursement funds, because we staffed that vehicle to assist with responses out into the community for the opioid crisis. So these are some new apparatus. Engine 12 for Churchland. That's a brand new engine that we're taking delivery of this week. There was a backlog on the headsets to be installed on those. The ambulance for Medic 1 at Station 1, that was the ambulance that was ordered last year in September. We received it just a few weeks ago, and that was one that was mid-build that was available, that we were able to make that purchase and get it earlier on the production line. And that third vehicle is that CRT vehicle that I discussed. So with that community response team vehicle, and our team had a presentation a few months ago, and I really wanted to enhance the community services that they're providing, especially from the community response team side and then the crisis response team side. So within the community, the response team, they target the vulnerable citizens within the community. What they do is they provide alternative services that these citizens have nowhere to turn but 911. So a 911 system goes to their house, picks them up, and there's only one place to take them. That is the ER, which drives up medical costs and undue care that is not emergency, but it's the only place that they can turn to for care. So this team works within a community, whether it's a medication issue or if it's something where they're chronically falling. They have been working within the community with these cases. So they've had 34 cases that they resolved, and on average, 5 to 10 cases are active every day. The crisis response team portion is more on the lines of your mental health and your opioid crisis, and these are true collaborations with behavioral health care services, Department of Social Services, and the police department. So I'm going to wrap up with the initiatives that are home-based in the community, that are outside of 911 emergency response, which is showing the picture that Portsmouth together can do better for our citizens. And that is through community risk reduction, working with our seniors for fire safety, fire extinguisher training, escape planning, and also home assessments such as for seniors to make sure that they don't fall or slip on items that are in their home that they're unaware of. So we're also spearheading through our training department, the active threat training, and that is with the Portsmouth Public School System, other city departments, police department, sheriff's office. We've run drills with churches and also scheduling active threat training with the businesses. The good thing, this August, we are working with the Portsmouth Public Schools, and we are going to hold a full-scale drill. We're going to start it with the tabletop 1 week, and the following week, we're going to do a drill to test the emergency plan that the schools have set forth, and we will test our response capabilities with fire, EMS, and police. And I think that's it. I've hit all the other points. We're just going to continue to work with the other service entities within the city to make sure that we put all the pieces together without duplicating a service. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Dr. Whitaker, sir, you have the floor.
Yes, Chief, thank you, and appreciate you and the firefighters and the dedication you have to the work and our citizens. Just a question regarding the certified firefighter recruitment. You mentioned 25, and then there are 3 that are coming on board. Those certified firefighters, are they all from regional or are they from other locations?
Yes, most of them are regional within Virginia. So we haven't processed the 25 applicants that are in the portal for hiring. But to give you an example of the 3 that are starting on Thursday, one is a former Portsmouth firefighter that left late last year for another city, a bigger city than Portsmouth, Virginia Beach. But he has requested to come back. So we are happy to receive him back because we trained him and he wants to come back. The other 2, one comes from within the region, Hampton, and I also believe the Navy Regional Department. So they're all on the same academy structure, and it's very easy to onboard them and do a 2-week turnaround and get them out on the trucks.
How does that balance out with firefighters who have left the city? Does this give us a gain, or are we still trying to recover?
Oh, yes. Yeah, we're constantly trying to recover through natural attrition. As an example, we have so we're going to bring on 19 folks on Thursday, and we have 2 pending certified that are going through background checks, which are also from local fire departments. And that will leave us with 10 vacancies on the fire side that we are looking to fill out of that 25 certified firefighter applicant pool.
So you're saying the 25 will fulfill the 10?
Yes, we're hoping that after doing the interview process with the 25, that we can pick at least 10 of them to fill the rest of the vacancies.
Okay.
Councilman Hugo, sir, you have the floor.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. So, Chief, thanks for this brief, very informative. A follow-up question to Councilman Whitaker's question. So, you and the police chief are fighting with the cities around us. I think the city manager described it as an auction for public safety people. So we did some things to address pay compression before I got on city council, so this was a year or so ago. Are we seeing a benefit from that in terms of helping to stem the attrition, or are you still seeing our experience departing for a few $1,000s more in our neighboring cities?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Hugo. Well, with the pay compression, we did one last fall before you got here, but we also did another one within those same groups, identifying some time and grade which was showing some disparity amongst some of the ranks. So thanks to Ms. Terry and Ms. Wright, we were able to bring those up to where it actually brought up the morale of a lot of the department. And I think you'll notice just publicly, you'll see that we're all becoming one team as far as support for the citizens and the organization. So there's talk out there that there's a lot of people that have left that want to come back. But like I shared with Dr. Whitaker, we only have 10 spaces there. So the competition is a good thing.
Yeah. And then my other question has to do with the community response and crisis response. So how much staffing do you have on those teams? And I'm asking because I think it's pretty small. And if you're doing this good work, is there a vision to continue to grow the staffing on those teams because of the successes that the team is having?
Oh, yes. Yes, sir. So we're collecting all the data to support additional staff. Currently, we use our community risk reduction staff, which is Captain Cherise Orton, and she has a part-time community educator along with support from our fire marshal's office to help with the community side of it. But from the crisis response team, we have one paramedic who is assigned to that. And she was solely put out there because of the Marcus alerting mandates and to build the SOPs and build that infrastructure for when the state did mandate that we do that, we go there. So we're looking at probably within the next 2 budget years with enough data to add additional staff to the community response teams.
Did the state mandate come with state money?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it comes with money. A lot of the that is driven through behavioral health care services. We're going to be part of that along with the police departments. I would assume that the state would be providing some funding, but I'm not sure right offhand.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Vice Mayor Lucas Burke, ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Chief, for this exciting presentation. Gives us a lot of information. For the active threat training, are they already scheduled trainings, or will they be scheduled, and how are the groups that are listed under there informed about when they will occur?
Yes, yes. So, Ms. Vice Mayor, specifically to like the Portsmouth Public Schools, we've been meeting with them through the police chief championing a meeting with us. So we have that set up around the time where they do the teachers' meetings and leadership timeframes, sometime in August. And then we've set aside later in August to do the exercise in full scale with volunteers to be the victims and so forth. The business community typically reaches out to us, and within city departments, they also reach out to us wanting fire extinguisher type training, and then also some active threat training, and we just schedule those on a as needed or availability of time basis.
Okay, sounds good. I've not heard of the churches being a part of the groups, but I guess, it's all a good thing that we all informed about any kind of active threat. And I thought they were just fire related, but I guess they could be
Right.
any kind of threat that's safety related.
Yes,
Yes, okay.
yes.
Right, thank you.
Councilman Moody, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for the great presentation. It's good to hear that grass is not always greener, that some people are coming back to Portsmouth. Good to see that, I think fiscal year '24, you've got 5 paramedics coming back are going to be deployed at that point?
Yes, added to the complement.
Right. How close are we to ensuring that a paramedic is on every unit that's dispatched?
Yes, so we're trying to make that a priority to make sure all of the ambulances are staffed with paramedic. There are times where we have a part-time corps of paramedics also. There's an additional 13 part-time paramedics that we use. Our difficulty usually comes around Fridays and the weekends and holidays, where we don't get the sign-ups because they have full-time jobs elsewhere.
And I would think that's obviously the critical time because people are out and about and it's going to be more accidents and what have you.
Yes, yes. So we set the threshold. We make sure that no more than 2 ambulances do not have a paramedic on the truck. But if there is an ambulance with 2 advanced EMTs, there is a paramedic that is available to respond to that call to assist if a paramedic call was needed.
Well, how many more would we need to ensure that that's taken care of, the paramedic is available on every dispatch?
Yes. So recently, we've been able to maintain the paramedic staffing to about 1 or 2 as far as the complement of 19 paramedics. So that has been a plus over the past 2 years. So what happens is a lot of our paramedics that we hire are brand new out of school, and they have to go through a field training program to be released to function as paramedics. So we have yet to, reap the benefits of all of our paramedics that are fully released because of the recent hirings that we had to fill the complement. So once we get everybody fully trained with the complement plus the additional 5, that staffing model is designed to meet the needs of a paramedic on an ambulance every single day, minus a sick leave out or a long-term illness, which we can't just hire for a position because somebody is out temporarily. That's where we are utilizing firefighter paramedics to help assist with that. And when we have the 6 complete their class at the end of the year, we'll have a lot of resources to maintain all 6 ambulances with paramedic level staffing.
So at the beginning of next year, we should be there. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks, Chief.
You're welcome.
Dr. Whitaker, you have the floor, sir.
Yeah, Chief, I just want to commend you. We've been listening to the reports you've given, and you mentioned the persons that are applying to come back to Portsmouth because they want to be in the Portsmouth Fire Department. And I want to commend you. I was at the promotion ceremony a few weeks ago. You promoted persons from diverse backgrounds, the first African-American battalion chief in the history of Portsmouth, and there were other African-Americans that were promoted. I say that because Portsmouth is a nebulous concept. I don't know what Portsmouth is, but I do know what fairness is. And what you have done is that you have created a culture there within the fire department where persons want to be there because they see the fairness. That doesn't happen just by wishing it and by chance. It comes by persons like yourself who get in positions of authority and they don't get there and just conform, but they transform. And I appreciate you doing that. It takes a lot of moral courage to do that. I wish we would see a lot more of that in this city. And so I hope that you will stay the course and you will continue to create that culture where people want to come because they see a sense of fairness and opportunity. So thank you.
Yes,
and
sir.
again, I've told you that one-on-one, but I want to also express that publicly, your moral courage. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Madam City Manager.
Next, we'll have a presentation by Police Chief Jenkins. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, Madam Manager. Tonight I intend to give you an update on some of our initiatives that we currently have been dealing with for about the past year, some of our upgrades in technology to let you know where we are with that, in addition to our staffing. All right, so currently, we have 96 sworn vacancies within the police department. Our full complement of police officers at this time would be 253. We have 14 civilian vacancies with a full complement of 73. We recently graduated 9 police recruits about 2 weeks ago. By the way, they will be sworn in tomorrow. For anyone that has the availability at 11 o'clock, 206 High Street, please attend to show your support. We've also recently hired 2 lateral transfers into our police department. Obviously, staffing continues to be an issue for us as a department, but us as a profession. I recently just completed a course at Boston University that was attended by law enforcement professionals from across the country, to include Canada. This course was taught by MIT, Harvard, Johns Hopkins professors. One of the common threads that came out of that training is that across the country, we are struggling to attract qualified candidates to law enforcement. One locality in particular, San Francisco, their starting pay for police officers is $120,000, and they are several hundred short. Another locality also in California, their signing bonus is $75,000, and they're still having issues with attracting qualified candidates. We are continuing to expand our thought processes and what we're doing and the way that we distribute our law enforcement capabilities with the personnel that we have. I've tasked my staff with looking at some alternatives to include the utilization and probability of using citizens to become investigators, crash investigators, and also the ability to investigate low-level crimes for us to be able to redeploy our sworn personnel to handle the more dangerous and time-consuming events. So an update on our crime-fighting technology, which we have been procuring for the last several months. As of today, we have 44 flock LPRs within the city out of the 57 that we purchased. We've already started to benefit from those cameras being up in our city. We have recovered a stolen auto as late as last week, and this past weekend we've had a serial larceny suspect that was been terrorizing our ABC stores that we were able to, with that technology, capture and handle appropriately with charges. As the rest of our cities, I'm sure that you've seen through media profiles, as the rest of them all come on board, this technology helps us as a force multiplier to be able to communicate with our partners as these vehicles and bad actors travel throughout the region and continue to do their crimes. Gunshot detection. Again, we purchased our gunshot detection, or a version of gunshot detection. I know we talked a lot about ShotSpotter, but we did purchase a version of gunshot detection from Flock Industries. Currently in our area which we are deploying the technology, we have 30 of the Raven detection of the 36 already in place. Again, this is the initial rollout of this is going to be a 1 mile radius, which is going to predominantly be in our Prentice Park area to include Dale's Home, and we're going to look to expand that as we go further. Our Fuchsia's ecosystem, which is part of our real-time crime center, is an ongoing implementation. Again, we have had multiple conversations and it will continue to be an ongoing implementation as more individuals bring their cameras and register their cameras with our technology. Mr. Hugo, I saw that you register your camera. Thank you very much. Anybody else, that if you have cameras, I encourage you all to register your cameras with us, because it does give us an opportunity when incidents happen for us to be able to respond, but also it sends that larger message that we as a community are banded together to be able to fight crime within our city. Again, I fully expect that the Portsmouth Public Schools is going to implement Fuchsia's as well, which will give us a even more secure learning environment, and give us an opportunity in the event that something does happen, that we have real-time technology while we're responding to assist with any incidents that may occur within the school system. I touched on it a little bit earlier, Portsmouth Connect, which is a website that we have that's associated with our Fuchsia's technology. That is up and running. You can look for that information at Portsmouth Virginia Connect and register your cameras with us. Currently, within the city, we have 252 cameras of private citizens that have registered cameras, and we have another 1,474 cameras that have been integrated into our system at this time. One of the things I do want to highlight, because there was a citizen that was a little, we are encouraging everyone to register their cameras. The Fuchsia's core boxes are mainly for businesses. We are not saying that a citizen cannot purchase that for themselves or for their home, but the cores are mainly for businesses and gives us access to that particular entity's cameras at that time. So we just want to clear that up so that anybody that's watching has the understanding that the price is not something that we as a city set, but more so as something that the company sets. Our police to citizen online reporting. Again, this is something that we implemented, have been trying to implement for several years. Thanks to Mr. Hayes and his team for finally getting us over the hump to be able to get this, something that we should have had a long time ago. This, for us, will allow those minor, well, I won't say minor, those reports that don't require an officer to respond, to take it. They allow the citizen to be able to go on and file that police report with us for follow-up. In addition to that, there are several modules to include arrest, to include incidents that have occurred in their particular area, wanted subjects, things of that nature. Well, with this particular, with our particular setup, the vendor characterizes that somehow think in terms of a football field and a tarp being over that football field, and somehow the city of Portsmouth found that one little pinhole in that tarp that is creating an issue with the full rollout of that. So basically what happens is a person has one of the modules, a person that wants to review local arrest, a person right now has the ability to go on and review an arrest, and that arrest, say if it was myself and I had a juvenile record, it will give me that information as well. Obviously that's a problem. So what we're doing so that will not be a holdup, we're going to turn those features off, but continue with the rollout of the online reporting. Our real-time crime center. We've obviously received all furniture for that. We're in the process of, based on where we are within the space, there were some alterations that needed to be made to the building itself, based on the request of the owner of the building. And so we had to contact not only our general services, but went as far as to get a vendor to be able to come in and actually complete that work. We anticipate that we'll have that done within the next few weeks to begin to install the remaining monitors within that room. We've actually hired our first full-time staff person to be able to begin to staff that. So, Councilman Hugo, while I have y'all's attention and I'm on this, one of your questions was, how does this affect the 911 center? So these two things are going to operate separately. Dispatch will have some training in our real-time crime center and be able to monitor and review it, but the plan is for the staff for the real-time crime center to do the monitoring of that, so that it is not bogging them down with additional. All right, so this right here is our contract that we are procuring right now. So we're in the final phases of 60 closed circuit televisions that will either replace some of our traffic camera issues, but also we will be putting into our areas that have been traditionally caused us more issue as it relates to crime. We've already gotten the necessary language for us to be able to do this as a vendor without having to go through the traditional quotes for, we're going to be utilizing cooperative language to be able to procure this. All right, so I have a representative here to discuss our speed zone cameras and things of that nature. So he's going to give a brief presentation on that, and at the conclusion, I'll come back up and answer any questions that you may have. Sir.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes.
Good afternoon, sir. You could state your name, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Marty Plank. I'm from Ultimate, and just so you know, I am a former Hampton Roads resident, graduated from Bayside High School, and proud graduate of Old Dominion University, and I have lots of friends in Portsmouth. So yeah, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, Madam City Manager, Chief, Sergeant, thank you for your time tonight. We really appreciate it. I won't take up much of your time. I'm going to give you a high-level overview of our automated traffic enforcement programs, and I'm sure you're going to have a lot of questions, so I want to make sure that we get those answered for you, okay? All right. Our mission, 100%, is to make communities safer, reducing accidents, injuries, and fatalities while providing non-taxpayer funding for public safety initiatives. Our goal is to make the streets in and around your schools and around your community safer for everybody. The main issue, this slide here kind of shows you when folks don't obey the speed limit, there are dire consequences. So if someone's driving between 1 and 20 miles an hour and they hit a pedestrian or a child, they have a 9 in 10 chance of surviving, which is good. It gets a little different when you get to 30 to 40 miles an hour. That individual has a 5 in 10 chance of surviving. Once they get over 40, they only have a 1 in 10 chance of surviving. Most school zones today, they range from 15 miles an hour to 25 to 35 to 45. Most yellow flashing light school zones are 25 miles an hour. So if an individual is traveling at 10 over the speed limit at 35 miles an hour, the crashes are worse and the consequences are worse. This slide really just reiterates some of those same numbers. The biggest one is number 2, the number of drivers, the percentage of drivers that are speeding in school zones even 30 minutes before flashing lights or 30 minutes after. The issue is there's a lot more traffic these days. A lot more people are dropping off their kids versus riding the bus. So there's a lot more cars in those school zones also. About Ultimate, so we are USA owned and operated, based in Lanham, Maryland. What's great about Ultimate is the fact that we do everything, all our technology is in-house. These fine gentlemen here are part of our operations and engineering team. We design, build, install, maintain, upgrade, even forward think how we can help communities make their roads safer. And to the chief's point, talking about a Fusus Command Center, we're part of that too. So integrating to be a force multiplier to help the community. So that's how we're able to scale quickly. For reference, City of Suffolk has a program with us that you've probably heard about it. They have the largest contract for automated enforcement in the state of Virginia currently. They do stop arm, they do school zone, they do work zone, and they do red light. So the good news is we have a local team here already, so which is really good for Portsmouth. Just to touch on those solutions again, photo speed, red light, school bus stop arm. I did not put on here, similar to Flock, we do offer what's called Pro AVR. It's more like Flock on steroids, where we can recognize 250,000 plates per day to help police find those kind of, people that are avoiding the law. So this is the most important slide. This really touches on school zone enforcement. Maybe, there's a lot of questions about school zone enforcement, but once a program launches, we are required by law to place a sign within 1,000 feet of that camera and that radar going in both directions. Obviously, we supply that sign, but it lets the public know that photo enforcement is taking place. So it's an additional sign, other than the yellow flashing lights, to tell people, slow down. We cannot enforce, the enforcement limit is at least 10 over the speed limit. So if you're in a 25, and you're going 10 or more over the speed limit, that's when you'll receive a citation. Fines cannot exceed $100. So no points, no insurance. It is a civil penalty. I always say it's better to get a citation from us than the police officer, because it's not going to go against your DMV record or insurance. Penalties obviously are collected at the locality where the violation occurred. The vendor, in this case us, we're paid on goods and services provided, not on the number of violations paid or any monetary penalties imposed. The other big piece is, just like we're doing in Suffolk, we always will do a 30-day warning period before we ever issue a citation. So if a school zone is going live, there's going to be, they won't actually get, someone speeding, they'll get a warning in the mail. It says in big letters, you were speeding, warning, slow down. But after 30 days, they will actually get a live citation if they're speeding again. The most important piece is really the public information campaign. I think Suffolk has done an outstanding job. We teamed up with them on their public information campaign. I know we did because I get calls from other jurisdictions asking about it. And I'm proud to say that we're working with Portsmouth also. But the public information campaign is designed to let the public know that these cameras are coming, whether they're in the school zone, whether it's a stop arm on a school bus. It's our duty to flood the community to let them know that they're coming. Okay? All right. The question comes up a lot, do these systems work? This is a real world example. This is in Macon-Bibb, Georgia. This is a pretty big, I forget how many schools exactly, but it's a pretty big jurisdiction. The biggest thing is if you really look at the first 6 weeks of the program when it went live, you'll see week 1, we mailed out 5,000, over 5,000 citations. That's a lot of citations. That's a lot of people speeding. But if you look at the trajectory, it goes down, it goes down. Then you flip over to the last 6 weeks, the last week of school, we had that down to 667 violations. That means people are slowing down, they're obeying the law. Chief, they can do other things than do traffic enforcement in the school zone. So this is just such a great slide that makes us super proud because we have a system in the town of Hurt. They have 2 police officers, 1 school. They get about 4 violations a week, and that's it. So I think you're going to have a few more in Portsmouth, but this is really important to show that the system works. All right, I'm going to talk really quickly about school bus stop arm. Very similar, with the exception of you will have a camera on the side of the bus. I'll show you a picture of it. The difference really is you do have to pass an ordinance to do school bus stop arm, which is just enabling the state law. But we do all that for you. Penalties collected, again, come to the jurisdiction. Big difference, this is a $250 civil penalty. It's a big one. I've been told it should be more than that, but it's a big fine. But once again, no points, nothing against your DMV record. In both cases, too, we can work with a collections agency if we have unpaid fines. Okay? Sorry I don't have a fancy picture here, but this is as we're installing cameras on school buses in Suffolk. You'll kind of see right on the side, it's a very small camera bi-directional, and then right straight above it is a 180-degree camera that we've sat here and watched. Unfortunately, the school bus is completely stopped. The stop arm is out, it is flashing, and we will watch a car go right by it. And it's just, it happens more than you think it does. You may have heard from bus drivers about this, but we've seen it live, and it's a little scary. But part of our job, too, is when somebody gets a citation for school bus stop arm, is to educate them. Some people don't know the law. When you have 4 lanes without a divider, they don't realize on the far lane you still have to stop, right? So, but just wanted to give you a kind of a visual of what it looks like. If you have a copy of the presentation, folks that work with us right now, this slide speaks for itself. Alta Vista Chief Merrick's, he was the first live program in the state of Virginia right after COVID. So credit to him. His program's doing really well. Obviously, Suffolk is up and running. You see the comments from the chief, the last line, these cameras can literally save lives. It's the truth. But the biggest one, I think, that's most important to Portsmouth is the Macon Bibb County Manager. If you read the first line, we've seen an immediate impact in driver behavior around all our schools, not just the ones where we have cameras. We hear that everywhere. So that's important. It will change driver behavior, not only in your school zones, but kind of in and around your community. So, and I promise people are distracted these days, so we have portable fixed photo solutions, portable and fixed. Just so you know, there is no upfront cost to the city of Portsmouth. They're 100% violator funded. If there were no violations in a whole month, you would never pay a dime. So the program's completely free. The great thing about Ultimate, obviously, we're a turnkey operation. We do everything. We do, like I said, the install. Even after everything's installed, we do all the citations, the back office. We take care of everything. The biggest thing for law enforcement we were talking about is the citation does have to be signed off by a sworn law enforcement officer, okay? So yeah, in the beginning, there's gonna be a lot of violations. Those violations go down, so. Once again, talking about the public information campaign, we will work with your marketing team, Public Works, and we will let the community know that these, we're going to tell them where the cameras are, why they're there, the speed limit they should not go above, everything, so. All right. And these are just examples of some of the stuff we created that we send out in the community. Obviously we'll do, radio, print, everything. So I think that's it. Hold on. Yeah, that's it. So just so you know, right now we are working with Harrisonburg. We got them up and running. Harrisonburg, Chief Christian in Petersburg. We also obviously are doing Suffolk, Alta Vista, the town of Hurt, Winchester. So there's a lot of programs that are, I won't even discuss, but there's a lot of programs that are coming online. So this technology is really good. So I'll leave it at that, and I'm sure you have lots of questions. So if they're technical, I'm going to ask these two guys to come up. I'm just kidding. So.
Thank you, sir. And I know the chief had indicated
Okay.
he might come back up if there's some questions posed to him. So we'll start off. You both can hang together.
Oh, I won't go anywhere.
I think you look like a good team. In any event,
Thank you for that.
Dr. Whitaker, sir, you have the floor.
Yes, Mr. Blake, and then I have a question for the chief. The cost factor, again, I wasn't clear on that as far as the cost to the city. Can you explain that again?
So there's zero cost to the city. So the way it works is the contract, we take a cut from the fixed processing fee. So let's say there's a $100 citation. We take our fee, and then any citation that's paid, the rest of that money comes to the city of Portsmouth. So on average, you're going to get back between $86 and $88 per paid citation. We are not paid on paid citations, just issued.
Okay, and you were saying that as far as the school bus arm issue, those aren't any criminal attachments to that?
Only if they pull them over, yes. No, it's a civil penalty, just like speed.
So if it's purely by your camera, then it does not enter into the police, it's not a police issue?
No, but the police will have to sign off on that citation. So when it comes to the police department, they will see two pictures of that vehicle moving with the license plate. And the difference between speed and stop arm, there's about a 6-second video, which the violator can also go to our website and watch themselves. We give them a link, but it will show the violation clearly. Now, if you have and it shows, it's time stamped. It'll show that the bus was going 0 miles an hour. Once in a blue moon, if a stop arm is still coming out and a car goes through it, that's going to be police discretion whether they sign that citation.
Okay. And this is Chief, a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
And also it relates to the technology. We've had some issues with high-speed chase through the city. Will this technology eliminate the need for that? And is there a high-speed, there is a high-speed policy,
Yes, sir. So,
high-speed chase policy?
yes, sir. So I want to be clear. There is probably no way for us to get rid of the need to chase totally. We have severely limited our ability to do so based on our policy and the reasons that we would normally chase a vehicle for. However, if there is an individual who is a threat to the public or has committed a serious crime, we are going to pursue that individual as long and as far as we can. However, and I had not put this technology out, we have recently just procured a technology called Star Chase, and I'll be giving that more information on that as well. But that is a apparatus that we will be putting on a few vehicles that will shoot a GPS projectile out onto that car, which will allow us to back off and then pursue that car in a manner which we can get them to a area where we can safely attempt to take them into custody. We'll profile that more once we begin to receive that and give you a opportunity for demo. We are doing everything we can to limit any threat to the public, but we are still the police, and there are going to be times that we're going to have to get engaged in some of those more high-risk but that's going to become more rely on the training that our officers receive on when to pursue and when not to.
And then, last question.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned something about citizens being trained as investigators.
Yes, sir.
Was that something that came out of the Boston University conference?
So, no, actually, it's actually things that are being passed around amongst police forums. It's funny, as I step back, North Carolina just passed a bill. I was just reading it, just passed a bill, and it's they had only limited it to 2 areas, but they passed a bill signed by their governor, which is now freeing up officers by implementing civilian traffic investigators. And that's something that literally just came through. So this is a move. Obviously, there are, in this particular article that I was reading, they're going to investigate low-level offenses. They won't have powers of arrest or things of that nature. So they're trying to be careful in putting them in dangerous situations that may be harmful to them, but also still allowing those crimes to be investigated properly and allowing the officers to focus on the more serious crimes and the more serious events that require our attention.
Yeah, I was curious if it came out of the Boston University conference, because I was just curious if it's research-based.
Yes, sir.
How is it that has been determined to be something that would be a positive in law enforcement? And, if it's, are you saying it's not research-based?
No, I'm not going to tell you that it's not. What I will tell you is that American policing has been kind of slow to embrace some of the things that some of our counterparts from England, where their officers, a lot of their officers don't carry firearms. And so there's a different way that but it also takes them 2 years plus to make an officer and to train them. So there is a lot of back and forth as to things that we're looking at from our partners across seas on how they police and what ways that we can bring those things back and implement them here. Again, as a profession, I think we are all looking at a way to be able to do it better, smarter, and safer. There is no end in sight for us to be able to bring, to fill these. I would love to, not to throw Chief Magnabot under the bus, but I would love to have 10 vacancies with 25 applicants. But the reality is that we're struggling to bring people back to policing, and it's incumbent upon all of us as citizens and as leaders to make sure we're funneling the proper people to the profession, because we literally need them.
Yeah, you're dealing with a tremendous historical, cultural issue as well.
Yes, sir.
And the issue that I was asking about the research base is because of this whole issue of implicit bias that we know exists within police departments, and those are professionally trained.
Yes, sir.
And so I'm thinking now when you start involving citizens and they're not as professionally trained and bringing those implicit biases, just hope that that's something that is seriously taken into account if that is something that you decide to do.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir. We're going to do as much due diligence as possible, but I can assure you this is not something we're going to rush into. But I think we have to look at every opportunity to be able to provide a safe environment for our citizens.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Moody, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question on the speed zone cameras.
Yes, sir.
Does the same apparatus also do the photo red?
Basically, yes. It's a little bit different technology, but like with a red light system, you can only have 1 camera per 10,000 residents, so you can't just put red light enforcement cameras all over the city.
Right.
But it's yes. The difference is when you capture a red light violation, you have your straight through violations, which are the most dangerous, and then you have your kind of rolling red on red, which is probably So we set parameters with the police department on what that speed is when somebody stops. Is it a complete stop? Can they roll 2 miles an hour? But you also have to take into the account that, you could have a bicycle coming across that where somebody's turning right on red too, so.
So the same, you could get 2 violations if you're speeding through a red light?
No.
You
No,
only get
sorry.
one
Yeah,
violation.
no. The red light is the red light violation.
Okay.
We cannot we cannot issue citations for speeding outside of a school zone. This is just for school zone enforcement.
Okay.
Yep. We do have a program, which we have not talked about, which this is talking about innovation, right? You talk about high-speed chases. We do have a program that we could talk about that will just issue warnings to residents that are going at high rates of speed, which is always good when it's a college kid that's speeding and that warning goes to the parents because that's the registered owner. That gets their attention. So there's other things we can do, but right now, school zone enforcement is the only place where we can issue citations.
Right. And is your percentage of the violation the same on red light or?
It's a great question. So the red light, you do have to have an ordinance passed for red light, but that is a $50 fine.
Okay.
That is a fixed cost. That camera is a fixed cost per month.
Now, is that cost the same in Portsmouth as it would be in Suffolk?
100%.
Okay.
Yep.
And your take is the same?
Take is the same.
And what is that?
It depends on, in a school zone speed enforcement program, if there's a $100 fine, we take it's an average of $14 per citation issued. When that citation is paid, you get the full amount. So you would get in hindsight, you're getting $86. We're keeping 14.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Councilman Hugo, you have the floor.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So I'm getting the sign from the city manager to keep this quick.
Oh, no.
So,
Am I in trouble?
So I'll actually ask if we can do a follow-up. And my question's aimed at Chief Jenkins. So this is all great stuff, and it's important that we're implementing. I wonder if our crime trends are moving in the right direction, if we're seeing an impact from the technology on crime trends. And so maybe as a follow-up, rather than spending a lot of time, if you can send us the crime stats that you typically use at your quarterly forum and kind of point out your opinion as things are being implemented, where are you seeing the impacts from the technology implementations?
Yes, sir. As more of them get implemented, we will definitely be able to do a follow-up on what those numbers are. I don't want to jinx myself. I will just say that our first quarter, and the one that people pay attention to the most, for first quarter, our numbers for victims were in the double digits. Our second quarter, we were in the single digits, under 5. So there is, we are making some headway. I also want to take this opportunity to provide an update. So we talked quite a bit about the Sportsplex incident where a young man lost his life. I'm pleased to say that we've made an arrest in that today, where we have 2 individuals who were arrested and charged with that homicide. One of those individuals that was charged actually was charged in a previous homicide in April. So that's 2 that he's charged with within the last 90 days. So again, this is all part of some of our summer issues that we had, and but we, through the help of the public, folks coming together, I think the Portsmouth is tired of the violence, and it's starting to show.
Thanks, Chief. So finally, I want to thank the city manager, Chief Jenkins, Chief Mangabut, Mr. Hayes. It's been a very comprehensive session tonight, and so I appreciate you pulling everybody together and giving us this update.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Lucasberg, ma'am, you have the floor. Chief, you might need to stay around, sir.
I did. I had the same question about the, the red light because I was a victim of one, the rolling stop in Chesapeake.
Oh, you did,
And
that
they
wasn't.
got me, they had
Hey,
the
I
whole
got good-
car.
it
they had
wasn't
the-
us,
It wasn't
so,
you,
yep.
so, but I thought it was good. I mean, I saw it, I couldn't debate it at all. It was me, and I thought Portsmouth needed to have something like that because somebody cut me off just yesterday going through a red light, but anyway, coming soon. But my question is about the public information campaign. I mean, are you going to PTA meetings? Are we putting in water bills? How are we letting people know that this is coming and that they
Yeah,
need to know
great
this?
question. We would like to take the direction of the jurisdiction we're in because every marketing department, you know, some people don't have a marketing department. Suffolk is they've done a great job, I think. Everybody knows it's there. Harrisonburg, they did a public information campaign. They did print, they did TV. The chief went on TV.
Yeah.
She actually did this presentation herself.
Right.
But I think the public sees the need for it. I won't even tell you the numbers. That was a work zone in a 5-day period. It's unbelievable. So, but yeah, we will. When it comes to school bus stop on, we'll absolutely let the teachers know because the teachers, you know, I have teacher friends.
Right.
They're late for school, you know, but we want the public to know. We want the teachers. We want so we can send stuff home with the students. Absolutely.
Right.
Yep. There is no minimal amount of public information that we can provide.
Right.
But it's also educational too. So hopefully I answered your question.
That did, it did.
sorry you got that
Thank you
tick.
both for a
I'm sorry you
great
got that ticket.
presentation, Chief. Thank you for the
No,
information.
thank you all. It's
Yes.
great.
Hold on, guys, don't leave yet.
Oh.
I have a couple questions. Okay. I'm a good listener.
You are.
In any event, two questions. In the instance where there is a ticket issued for the bus and it's contested, who adjudicates that?
Yes, so there will be a process where they get that civil fine, they have the right to go to court and contest that ticket. So we will work with your court system and your judges, absolutely.
Very good.
Yes.
And the second part to that is, do the fines double if they're not paid within the prescribed time?
No.
Do they double? How does that work?
They do not double.
Okay.
Yep, we cannot charge per 2023 unless something changes. Right now, it's a $100 fine for school zone speed, 50 for red light, 250 for stop arm. Yeah, we can't double them. I wish we could.
And once again, it doesn't affect your driver's license, right?
No, sir.
Good.
Nope. No, it will not affect their insurance or their driver record. Yep, civil penalty.
Councilman Moody, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. As a follow-up to the mayor's question, if it doesn't go against your driver's license, what leverage do you have to collect it? Do you?
Great question. We have found in current programs that most people pay the fine. They understand that they violated. They go to the website, they see it. If they feel like they did not violate it, they have every right to go to court and contest it, and we will support police in that process. The last piece, though, is if it goes unpaid, we will work with the city of Portsmouth if they allow us to, and we'll do collections. Then that's the way we'll come back and try to get those fines paid.
How do other localities do the people who refuse to pay?
So some people refuse to pay because they'll say, I wasn't driving the car. That's fine. You can do a sworn affidavit. You can send in a transfer of liability, and then we're going to reissue that citation to the person that was driving the car. So you have to, but you know, at the end of the day, it's really the collections part is the biggest piece to try to get folks to pay that fine.
Thanks.
Yep.
Well, sirs, I think that was very comprehensive, and thank you both for the information. Will you be around a little bit later? There may be some other questions that folks may want to ask you.
I can stick around as long as you need me to.
Okay, very good. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
all. Take care.
Thank you, Chief. And Madam City Manager, you have the floor, ma'am.
City Manager's report. CMR 23-220, acquisition of Lincoln Cemetery. 23-221, federal asset forfeiture funds in the amount of $285,000. CMR 23-222, $400 donation to the Department of Social Services. 23-223, $5,000 from the VA Homeless Solutions Program. Thank you. That concludes my portion.
Thank you, ma'am. And are there any council liaison reports at this time? Seeing none, we do have a need for a closed session. And I would just want to remind the citizens that due to the time frame, it may take a little bit longer in our closed session than what normally. So we probably won't be starting the regular council meeting exactly at 7:00 p.m. So I just wanted to make everyone aware of that in advance. Vice Mayor, would you
Yes.
please read the motion?
Certainly will. I move to go into a closed meeting, meeting A pursuant to Virginia Code subsection 2.2-3711A.8 for the purpose of consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by the city regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel specifically regarding the Hampton Roads Regional Jail, and B, pursuant to Virginia Code subsection 2.2-3711A.1 and A.29 for the purpose of discussing and considering appointments to boards and commissions, the contract terms and salaries of the city clerk and the city attorney, and the process for filling the position of city manager, including specifically the award of a contract involving the expenditure of public funds to an executive search firm.
Do we have a second? Second. I would ask all my colleagues to vote electronically.
This item is adopted 7-0.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are in closed session. If everyone is in place, we will need, Vice Mayor, would you please read the motion?
Certainly. I hereby move that each council member certify that to the best of his or her knowledge, one, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and two, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting just concluded.
Second.
I would ask all my colleagues to vote electronically.
This item is adopted 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That concludes our closed meeting session. We will take a short recess for 5 minutes, and we will begin our regular meeting at that time upon return. Thank you all for your patience again.